Hi there. Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to the Power Hour Fireside Chat with myself, Nicola Longmuir. For those of you that don't know me, I am CCO at Push Gaming. I've worked with key brands in the industry over the last 15 years, both on the B2C side of the business and B2B. So we're going to discuss today entertainment as the future of iGaming, and I'm here with Sam. Sam, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi guys, my name is Sam Brum. I am the Chief Commercial Officer at Hero Gaming. Been there a couple of years. Previously, lots of experience, mostly on the operator side of the casino industry. So excited to have this discussion today.
Great, cool. So I guess we'll get right into it. So I mean, the key question that we're here to kind of discuss is about entertainment being the future of iGaming. I think the obvious answer is yes, of course it is. We're in the business of entertainment, and there's many factors influencing entertainment in the iGaming space, and there's lots of challenges, I guess, both on the B2B side of from a B2B perspective, and the B2C perspective also, and being able to fulfill the demands of an ever changing demographic. My experience is mainly in the casino side of the business, and I think that we kind of overall, and especially in the last few years, and in particular over the course of the last year during the pandemic, we've seen a shift in the casino demographic to a slightly younger demographic who are demanding a really thrilling, exciting user experience. And a generation who want an amazing user experience, reduced buffering, instant gratification, really mobile-led play. And I think that the way that this younger demographic play games has changed as well into much more of a kind of snacking culture, where players are easily distracted by, other forms of media, mobile notifications, being able to switch very easily from one form of entertainment to another form of entertainment instantaneously. Is that something that you would agree with, Sam, on the consumer side of the business?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I saw some recent statistics on, the usage of devices, and now they say the average person is spending 4 hours a day on their phone and 3 hours a day in front of a television, and the vast majority of that is entertainment consumption. However, if you look at the session times, and the number of sessions, that's where we're seeing quite significant changes. As you mentioned, this idea of snacking. So, the stats suggest that the average person is engaging with their phone up to 60 times a day, but the vast majority of those interactions are less than 2 minutes. So then, actually, if you look at the amount of time that you have to engage them, and then you look at how competitive that space is, from social media, video consumption, app consumption, online shopping, all of these major verticals, it's obviously a really, really competitive space that we're in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think from a product level, we need to really be adaptable to that as well, and look at the kind of features that we include in content, within the challenges of the regulated markets, which is kind of conflicting with providing that kind of entertaining experience, if you like. So things like slowing down of the spin times, and restrictions on in certain regulated markets for buy a bonus, for example. That's something that does provide that kind of entertainment, but from a supplier perspective, that's something that we have to be really adaptable to when we're actually building content out, to still make it thrilling, still make it exciting, and can really resonate with players. And we need to continue to be specializing in games with top animation, immersive visuals that are going to be really essential for attracting players in a very, very competitive market. As you say, there's so much choice for players that it's very important that we're in a position to be able to make content stand out and make that very visually attractive for because ultimately they're if they're not going to play your content, not going to pick it, then there's a plethora of other content out there that you're competing against. So I think that we really need to be adaptable as a business to be able to identify those trends and identify what allows players to pick your content specifically. But that's very, very B2B specific, very supplier specific. So it'd be good to get your views on that as well. So
Yeah, I think what you touched upon there is really interesting, and obviously from a regulatory perspective, the regulators are keen to slow things down. They are keen on, almost all of the, let's say, kind of sort of healthy gambling traits that they're trying to encourage go pretty much against the way people are consuming gaming these days. So, for us, arguably, as casino operators, when we're trying to manage affordability across a smaller number of longer sessions, it was a little easier, in fact, and there it's much easier for you to provide for the margins to play out effectively over a larger number of smaller spins. But the reality is that these days you don't really get that opportunity, and so obviously casino play is a numbers game. You need to have the game rounds to experience the correct volatility and the correct almost level of enjoyment from these games, and when those sessions get compressed, this is when guys like game service providers, they are of course then incentivized to introduce turbo play, feature buying, extreme high volatility, because they're trying to create those endorphins and create that adrenaline and experience in highly condensed session time. So it's definitely becoming more challenging, and also, as you say, that increase in competition because people's attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. We all know how it is when we're on our mobile phone. We'll be trying to do one thing and we're getting notifications about all these other different things, learn a language, watch YouTube, listen to Spotify. There's so many distractions, so many things tempting you away from and trying to win those entertainment hours that it's
which I think
fun.
some of those entertainment services also are fairly low cost, so Netflix, Prime, these, over the course of a year is it's subscription based, fairly low cost in the general scheme of things compared to and we're competing against those forms of media for attention to then go on and for people's disposable income to use that to be entertained. So it is a real challenge. But I think there's a lot of game suppliers in the market that are and operators that are rising to that challenge. And I guess over the last year we've seen some huge growth in the industry. Due to partly due to the pandemic, and I think that the operators and the suppliers have adapted in a way to kind of meet that challenge of being able to compete with different forms of media. And I think people's social mobility has obviously changed over the last year as well. So people are at home and they're looking for exciting content. To alleviate boredom, they're looking for content to engage in and also as part of a social experience as well. So I think that there's been a lot of changes within the industry. I think the rise of streamers has become extremely important. I think it will continue to be important It's a way of kind of socially engaging. Um, we did a live streamer event recently, which was really fantastic and engaged a lot of players, and a lot of viewers that direct to those players, so they could see the content. Um, you know, it's an invaluable kind of retention tool and acquisition tool as well for both operators and suppliers in the market.
Yeah, and I think, if we take that as an example, and we talk about it is the future entertainment, and yes, I mean, as you mentioned right at the beginning, of course the answer is yes, but I think the challenge for us on both the operator and supplier side is how do we bridge these gaps, right? So I think streaming is a really good example where one of the top three exercises that are carried out in terms of entertainment on phones is the consumption of video content. So, being able to enter into that space, bring gaming into that video sphere, obviously wins you more entertainment hours. And I think that there's a lot of value in that. I mean, as it becomes more and more competitive, I mean, we're fighting amongst ourselves for a small percentage of that mobile usage on a daily basis. So, maybe what wins in the future is companies who are better able to bridge the gap and get their products and get their companies and brands into those other entertainment streams, social, video, and so on, which give them even more exposure to those end users.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, we're marketing to a kind of a new generation of players with an infinite amount of content to choose from, and the majority of that is kind of video content. So it would be remiss to kind of ignore that kind of surge in type of media, which is showcasing a lot of the content, and engaging players at like a really basic level. So I think that's something that, as a game supplier, we're really kind of focused on and looking at the trends in streamers and engaging with streamers, to look at our content and really get it out to players, at a very basic level. And I think that will also help us in the future for building content and getting that direct feedback. It's invaluable, really, to get that direct feedback from players about what they like about content, what they don't like about content, so that we can be adaptable and we can look at our roadmaps, look at the games that we're kind of providing, to suit specific needs, obviously within the boundaries of the regulations for the different markets. So
yeah, exactly.
And
I think that there streaming is like it's a pretty good example of how you do it in a sort of direct way. But what I think will be what's always sort of baffled me a little bit is that humans have always bet on entertainment, right? So the sort of foundation of gambling and gambling is a form of entertainment, but originally gambling was a way to place wagers on entertaining things like sports, and of course now we've moved into the space of esports, but to this day they remain largely separated applications, if you think of it in that way. So you have gambling applications and you have streaming applications, or you have whatever other type of media application. For me, I think that it could be extremely interesting to see those worlds come together in a more complete way around products. And if we look at something recent, we see Shai leaving GVC, or sorry, Entain group, and moving across into a streaming service. And I often kind of think, well, imagine if that streaming service was able to overlay a betting application. So while they're streaming fighting events, players can directly bet into those events through the same application, through the same interface. If you think about it in another way, could there be some way that you know, slot games, you know, classic gambling games could make their way into PlayStation networks or into arenas where you've got these big, you know, these big audiences who are willing and making wagers as part of their sort of experience already. So some
Yeah,
potentially exciting collaborations there.
I think so, and I think that's very telling. GBC changing their name pretty much almost to Entertain, and then Shay moving to a streaming service as the next kind of step in his career. I think is quite kind of telling in terms of the direction that the industry is going into. And I think there's some exciting things ahead of us. I mean, virtual reality is also another kind of area that's really interesting, and how we potentially kind of realize that as a means for for casino betting and sports betting. I think it's still fairly in its infancy, and I think there's been some steps made in that area, but there's definitely other outlets that we can that the industry is moving into. So I think we really have got some exciting times ahead, and I think it's just key that we're adaptable. And I think as an industry, we very much are adaptable to players' needs and changes. I mean, the days of VIP led gambling has not, I wouldn't say has disappeared, but it has become harder and harder. It's harder to market to that type of player. So it's really more about that volume of play across non-specific VIP players. It's like how do we adapt to that model? And I think it's something that historically over the last 10 to 15 years we've been very good at being able to adapt as an industry to market trends. I don't see this as being any different really. We're just continuing to analyze the market, and as it starts to mature slightly, adapt in a way that kind of meets the needs of the players out there, for sure.
Yeah, and like you say, it's that up and coming demographic who are, entertained in not completely dissimilar ways, but fairly dissimilar from from our generation, and now with so many different entertainment platforms, and I read somewhere the average person in the US has 4 streaming subscriptions now, and if you go back even a year, that was probably nowhere near that trend. So things moving so quickly in those younger generations that obviously our ability to keep up is crucial for the future. But as you say, we are a dynamic industry. We often get accused of a lack of innovation, but personally, I don't see that. I feel that people are exploring the right avenues, and it's only a matter of time before these media, or entertainment verticals start to cross over.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as a game supplier, Push Gaming are always really looking at the taking inspiration from the different markets, whether it's in the kind of like mainstream media, but also looking at like the mobile gaming market as well. We obviously, we need to be very careful with themes, but we're always looking to the actual non-specific gambling mobile market and gaming market as for inspiration, for look and feel, and what's attractive. And I think it's a case of just always being on the lookout for the different trends, different kind of ways in which technology in the mobile space specifically, because I think we've seen it start to, we were in a position where obviously mobile gaming was growing for a long time. It started to, I guess, level out now, probably at around the kind of 30%, 70% mobile, 30% desktop. I guess that, there's a massive range depending on exactly what markets you're in, etc. But I think, we need to just constantly be looking at trends and market trends and adapting and innovating in terms of quality and kind of look and feel and offering an amazing experience to players.
And maybe just a question for you. I mean, it's something that we've talked about a little bit, but we all expected the pandemic to just disappear. It seems like that was naive, and if people are going to be spending much more time isolated and at home, it does make you think about how might entertainment consumption change, and how will communities, online communities, play a much more important part in the future? How do you, is that something that you guys look at or think about from a supplier side?
Yeah, I think it's something that we're all very conscious of and aware of, and I think overall everyone's online consumption has increased massively, and but we always are looking at, as I say, the different trends in the market, from within the industry and outside the industry to try and influence the type of products that we produce. And as I say, we're taking inspiration from the mobile gaming market as well, and just to deliver an experience that can really resonate and hold attention, which is probably one of the biggest challenges that we have,
Hmm.
given all the
Yeah, and I
noise that
guess
is out there.
yeah, and I guess your partnerships with the streamers and stuff as well. It's really good to kind of access to these growing communities.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to get the feedback almost direct from the player, and see the video content there really pushes it forward.
Hmm. Good. I think we are close to out of time, but any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think that the industry is just, adapting really well on both the B2C and the B2B side of the industry. And I think, as I say, we've always been an adaptable kind of innovative business. And I think the collaboration between both sides of the business will only drive things forward to keep entertaining. And that's what we're here to do.
Indeed. Some fun times ahead, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, thank you to everybody for listening. And if there were any questions, we'll get to them via the messaging service afterwards. So thank you very much.